Hip-hop was born on the streets of the South Bronx by reinterpreting the sacred songs that disco, R&B, rock, reggae, and every style in between had left us. The DJs would emphasize a certain musical quote from each song by repeating it, like a good Catholic would their Hail Marys, one rosary beat at a time. Like a Buddhist looping a mantra while meditating, the DJ captured a repetition to set the tone. It created the mood and locked in a rhythm that inspired sacred dances that would form circles like we did as hunter-gatherers around a fire thousands of years ago. As each person expressed themselves by breaking, their spirit called out to the divine within each of us, awakening a power from within. While our ancestors wrote their mathematics and stories on rock formations, hip-hop took the moving trains to paint them with its religious maps of the time. Inside the trains, you'd get to a geographic location, but outside of them, you'd be transported into another realm of imagination. And its guru, the MC, called upon the people to throw their hands in the air, to get down, and to rock the house. This was the congregation that the South Bronx built, hip-hop. Our guest is a hip-hop producer who digs through crates of vinyl to transform certain loops into mantras that are then infused with lyrics to create new songs that reinterpret the old ones, making them eternal soundtracks to the hip-hop religion. I am excited to have one of my inspirations, Buckwild, on the show today. Welcome to the show.
Bless Shok.
Welcome.
You know,
Man.
your inspiration also, B. You know,
Yeah.
you have to understand, like, and I say this, like, I've known you in passing and everything for quite a while, but with me, which I thought was really dope, and even, you know, some people you were surrounded with, no matter who was the people around, you always had like a good energy, and it's like you had this glow with you in your spirit. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't the same as everyone else. So I was like, you can see the goodness in the person, and it's like that's why even when I look at it, you know, even coming in a game, like the first how can I say? The first act of kindness that I had done for me was by Showbiz, and Show heard my beats, and it's like he took them around and he sold some of my beats to Flavor Unit.
Wow.
So that became like my foundation of how I interact with people. So if it's something that's there, like, like, I'll give you an example. Austin is from Heat Bakers. He's one of my guys. Before I even met him, and we became cool. Um, we were at an industry party in Sony. No, we weren't in Sony Studios. I forgot what studio we was in. And I got a call to go in and play beats for Ti. And we was hanging out, kicking it. And I just told him, like, yo, you got a beat tape on me. Why don't you just come with me? And he's like, yo, well, how I'm gonna go with you. Like, it's your meeting. It's like, this is your stage for you to try to sell beats. And I'm like, well, if he doesn't pick one of mine, he picks one of yours. At least we have a door that's open, And that was always kind of like my style. Like, I can't say that I helped everybody, but I will always try to crack a door open or have a random act of kindness towards someone else, because I've always believed, like, in this business of hip hop, it's enough in it to feed everybody. And maybe if everybody thought the same way, it's like the world would be different. It wouldn't be people saying, hey, I just want to make $1 billion, and it's like they got these dreams and aspirations. But even if you are being that type of person, I believe that you still can do those things, because it's more than enough for everybody. And if everybody went, in the same fashion, I think mentally it will help a lot of us. And spiritually, like, even with being kind and it's like, treating people a certain way, I believe the spirit would be fed too, because then it's like that good, it will feed into them. And it's like, in doing something, a random act of kindness, it feeds your soul and it makes you happy, and it fulfills you just as much as if you accomplish something for yourself.
Yeah, listen, that's the perfect way to start, because I mean, content, we go into like religious, philosophical, what's good, what's bad, what makes you happy, um, mindfulness. We go across everything, and that was a beautiful way to open up, because you take the business, and then you also look at the same time of what you're saying, and man, it's so true. I mean, my circle was pretty tough. I'm gonna be honest with you, and there was hardly any of that. So I think it's beautiful that you had like someone who opened the gate, like Showbiz, because it sort of set an example. And I think the examples that we have and the people who kind of mentor us, for better or worse, it really does condition us to how we're going to behave, because it normalizes that behavior, and it makes you believe that's how you get ahead, because this is how they got ahead, even if you disagree with it. And I gotta admit it, for a time I was a little bit trapped in that. But I do want to say something, and the reason I started with that beat from Rock On that you produce, is, I mean, first of all, I don't know how many people even know of that beat, but because I mean, you've got gigantic records, that you've produced. I mean, like, like Time's Up, Whoa, and many others. And for me, that's my favorite Buckwild beat, and I'll tell you why. Because at that time, I was really honing my skills, and I was really trying to figure out how, the way the drums sound smooth, they don't sound choppy, everything goes together. The way you put that hi-hat up there, you kind of tweaked it a little bit extra to make it the glue. All those little things.
Yes, sir.
I played that instrumental, I kid you not, religiously for months.
I appreciate
For months. I know that beat so well. It was like the swing, the everything about that. I would just play it, just the instrumental, and it was like before I started working on beats, like, for the day, let's say.
Yeah.
I was gonna listen to that, because I felt like that was, at that moment in time, it was crafted so well to me, and it showed it had feeling, the loop. It just, I don't know, it was just magnificent to me as a producer trying to figure things out. I would listen to that a lot, Pete Rock, other producers that were really strong at that moment. And but I definitely paid attention to you with OC, because when you did Time's Up, my goodness. I mean, that was like, and the crazy thing about that was the fact that you didn't put drums on it, not heavy drums. And you were such an excellent drum programmer. And to have like awareness to hear that loop and just be like, that's it.
Minimalist.
That is something that is super underestimated in production. That to know when to stop. And I
Well,
see a lot of people get caught up in that. And that blew me away because that was not normal back then, Buck.
nah,
That
but
was not normal. Like to make a beat without drums, it blew my mind. I mean, later on we had like, Ghostface with Mary. Like a lot of people start doing. RZA did it a ton, but at that moment when OC came out, it was like a highlight to me. Like, yo, he put no drums on there,
I
and it was
think
fire.
to us what we did is we tried to mimic like the people who do play. Like you guys play, y'all make records, so when you look at it, we have to construct around the sample the same way you guys construct around a melody or something that you play. And I think that's the genius of it. Because looking at it, anyone who could play, even if you could play by ear, if you could play just simple things, it's still genius because it's like when I look at it, I'd be like, damn, people say, oh, you could play, anybody could play, but thinking about it, think of all the people who really can't play or who can put a beat together from scratch with nothing, with just what's in their mind and
Mhm.
and the sounds
Yeah.
that they have in the keyboard, etc. And even like I say, like looking at DMX albums, like especially the second one, like even though that was the birth of Swiss, but like everybody y'all had around PK was heavy into playing his own stuff. Grease was just dabbling into that. He was playing his own stuff. I thought it was like genius because it's like everybody I knew was sampling. And it's like, I'm like, wow, these guys are using the Triton for real. Not just
Yeah.
using the Triton and
Yeah.
programming certain things, but they walking in with just the Triton and maybe a 3000 and
Yeah.
they making super platinum records. And I thought it was genius. And so it showed me in hip hop that everyone has like a superpower. So whether if it's for me, if I use my ears to do something, you guys play, somebody else can program the, drums to the T, somebody else can play on top of things, very intricate. Like I believe in music, everyone has a superpower.
Yeah.
And like almost everyone I've met, I've been around that I didn't meet. I've been a fan of so many people because of their talent and what they do. That it's like it makes me want to be good and great at some things I do. And I knew even for me, like early, it's like it's my ears and how I hear things because ever since a kid, like maybe 5 to 7 years old, I've been playing with records, playing records, listening to records, finding certain parts and, hearing the park jams, like that at a young age and
Mhm.
how they found the breaks that they would cut up there. I just tried to emulate what was in front of me. And being that that's one thing I was into, I use that. And it's like, and, it's a God given gift. And it's like, looking at it, I was blessed to be in a time where it's like I had both of my sisters who were avid record collectors and they had a vast array of records in their collection of from soul, jazz, funk, everything. And when they would play records, and my sister tells me like, "Yo, your favorite record was like a whatnots record. You'd always walk around the house with this record." I don't remember it, but I'm like, "Wow, this record that she's talking about is a rare record." And I'm like, "Wow, this is crazy. Maybe this is where I get it from." Some things you're born with.
Yeah.
It's like you come into it. Some people are like, yo, I was playing, the keyboard, the drums since an early age. Me, I've been this record person, listening to records, DJing since a super young age. So for the love of the music and the melodies and the intricacies of everything, and being an admirer of, what people can do and I can't. I think to me, it's like that appreciation also is what propels me to do what I do because when I hear a person play, no matter what level they are and what they do, I'll look and I'll be like, okay, when I make my beat, I like how you did with your hi-hats there. I'm gonna emulate that and I'm gonna put that in there like that. The way you're playing your drum, I'm gonna see if I could program my drums like that. Because it's like this is live and it's like I have a sample, but I want to be able to take the drums that I'm gonna program and make them feel like they're inside of the sample, like that's what the new composition is. So
Yeah,
I
man.
always gave it up to, everyone who can play.
So, what would you say was there a moment, like a specific experience that kind of made you love hip hop, that, just something impactful in your life, or even if it was as a kid, like walking around with that record, or a certain park jam, or a certain concert, or anything like that?
Well, I think to me, I could narrow it down really to one album, and that's the album. I think it's either Follow the Leader or Paid in Full, but I do know, and I'm not sure who did it, who did the production. I heard it's Marley, but when I'm hearing these records and how they sampling and how they replay certain things like Microphone Fiend and even Eric B for President, and that's what gave me like, wow, I want to do this, because
Yeah.
some of the records that they did, like I Know You Got Soul and a couple of others, I was like, wow, I have those records. That means if I mix two records together, I can produce. And that's where I first got the first idea. And I always had that. And it's like, and always listening. Matter of fact, I know what that is. That is Follow the Leader album. That was the one that made me be like, here's your calling right here. You just got to find yourself.
Wow.
That made me want to do it. Time went on, and it's like, I didn't really know nobody until I started making tapes when I got out of high school, and I met Lord Finesse. He was making mixtapes too. When I met Finesse, started DJing Finesse, and went on tour with him. And that was the start of everything. And that one time, everything, just clicked at once, and it's like that was it, and everything came to be. I went on a tour. I met OC. I met Organized Confusion. I met Biz. We came home and I cut OC demos because I just started making beats, and he liked my beats. He didn't have to like them, but it's like he was the blessing that was nestled inside of that tour, because that was my start, and that was the one angel, or the person that was the gift that put me on a path to doing what I wanted to do. And I always knew, even like before even really making beats, like when I first heard OC and Organized Confusion, I was like, I want to work with OC. He's really dope. And then come to find out, he was on the tour, met him, and we clicked. We came home, and that was Word Life.
Yeah, that was magic. You did most of that album, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah. Like it's a blessing, because looking at it, like, the universe puts everything where you need it to be. And when you follow that path, it's like you could be on the right path, or it's like it could put you on the path to take a different path. And long as you follow that and you stick with you, and it's like if you try to be a good person, and that's the one thing I always tried to do, and everything was like just magically there. Or after time's up, I just produced like a ton of records that came out. Like, like it was meant for me. Like someone was like, hey, well, here, do this.
I remember. I mean, you were remixing like crazy. Also, not just producing tracks, but you were doing quite a few remixes too.
Yeah, it's like I was by trade a DJ, so when I was doing mixtapes, I would take other records, acapellas, and I would mix them with records. And then when I started making beats, I would take like the instrumentals. Like I had the sample that Brand Nubian used for All For One, and I would mix acapellas with that. And it's like then sometimes I would make my own beat. I had another tape where, and I remember Finesse had a little disagreement with Laws of the Underground, and I did a mixtape and he rhymed on it, and I made the beat for that, and that tape kind of went platinum. And I was like, wow, I made this beat. Everyone who's hearing this freestyle from Finesse is loving it. And I was like, yo, I could really do this thing. Like I said, when On Slow Star came back, and that was everything there.
Isn't it? It is fascinating. Like when one certain thing can kind of just be like a domino effect, and just kind of open up so many other doors. And like you said, it could just put you on that path.
It does, and it's like looking at it. I tell people like, yo, man, the more that you chase wanting to be that, I think if you just prepare yourself, that's what helps you more. And also, I think it's also who you are, because even I try to, like I say, being good. Like I always, for me, the one thing, and I met a lot of people, I met a lot of righteous people, where it's like people who don't mind putting other people in a position. So that's why even when we spoke before, like we was talking about, coming up and like the type of people we're around. Meeting a lot of people, it was really great. Like one dude who was really dope meeting also was Buster. Like I met Buster working with Artifacts, and these people, like spiritually, like they're great people. They're kind people. And sometimes being an artist, like the world could get the best of you because everybody's pulling at you. They want something from you, and it's like you have your personal life, and your personal life isn't personal anymore. You are like an open book to millions of people who are around you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you want to have your time, people are, hey, can I get an autograph? Can I take a picture? Can I do this and can I do that? And seeing, my peers, like even like I say, bustling them, and seeing what it would do to them, that's definitely what it did.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, that's kind of crazy. I'm glad I didn't have to go through that. But also for him being Buster, and it's like, I believe when you are successful because you give the people the gift, which is you, and they feel like that they have a piece of you all the time because they spend their money.
Yeah. What I can second everything you said about Buster, because one of the most fun things I ever did as a producer was go play beats for Buster. And hang out with him because his energy is off the scale. It's always good vibe, and the way he reacts to, like, if he likes one of your beats, the reaction is just like it's better than like anything. He would be like, "Shok, you stupid! What's wrong with you, Shok? What was you thinking?" Like he would just like put it mad loud, and he'd call like everybody from the the waiting room and like in the lounge. He'd be like, "Yo,
you gotta hear this."
He's like, "Yo, you about to give birth to something here, Shok." What is like he would just go crazy, and that was so cool, man. That energy. And I actually got a question here from somebody. Says, "What up, fellas? Happy New Year's, Buck. Out of all the legends you work with, which experience can you remember that made you grind harder?"
Well, I think it's a few people. One of them I have to say is Red Hot Love Tone from Trackmasters, because it was a time Trackmasters was producing everything.
Yeah, I remember that.
Another one is D.Dot Angeletti, because remember he was producing all the Bad Boy records, regardless of if somebody else beat or not.
Yeah.
And he also gave me insight into certain things as being a producer, like even sampling the type of beats that you have. Like it's a time for it sometimes. Like you can make something, and it's light years ahead of where people are at and what they're doing. But to you as a producer, it sounds dope. And meanwhile, in a race, it's like they can't rap to it or sing to it because it's so far going ahead, And
yeah, I had to learn that too. That was a hard lesson.
Yeah, it's a tough lesson. And the other one I would have to say is Biggie. Biggie broke certain things down and made it simple to understand. And I used to always tell people, like, yo, he's one person, he's a producer in his own right. Because, like, he would always tell me, like, yo, you making these beats. And I don't know if D-Dot got that from him. You got some really dope beats, but you got nothing I can rhyme to. And then when he was doing Life After Death and he wanted a beat tape, he's like, okay, now you're on my vibe. And it's like, he pulled, like, this is right before he passed away, too. Like, he pulled off so many beats from this tape. Oh, these 3 is for Kim, these 3 is for C's, and this is for this. And I got one more. I'm going to try to do this record also before we wrap up the album. And then he passed away. Like, it was a sad time, but as a person, even as an artist, it's like, I think even like that, like Buster was like that. Buster's a very encouraging person. Biggie definitely was. And it's like, you don't see too many people who really care enough to make you be like, okay, yo, you can do this. And giving you confidence and teaching you the little they know or the most that they know and put you in a good position. Because I don't know, man. Like I say, for him, he's like a producer. I seen him take other people's records and tell him what he want out of it so he can make his song. And then I seen him like, okay, we've all heard the references like, Queen Bitch, and a few other joints, Play Example. For you to write that for someone else and also construct the beat, take what you like with it and what you don't, that is a producer's job.
Yeah.
So I look at Big, that's what I say, and people like, yo, he's like the ultimate artist. I never seen another artist. That's why when people say who's the greatest, we always say Biggie because looking at it, I'm pretty sure I work with almost everyone, and there's no one that I've ever worked with who can come and sit at the board and tell them what they like is in the beat and what they don't really like and how we can make the song better, like he does, and every artist is like, I don't know. We've had a lot of great artists, in hip hop at this time, and I think a lot of them they know. Like even to me, I never work with X, but I hear X, and it's like it makes me feel like he's like being a speaker. He knows how to control his voice in the booth, and he knows how to make himself sound right the way he needs to. So no one can tell him like, oh, yeah, you're not saying this right, because he
Yeah.
knows like, okay, I'm in a booth. I need to stand about maybe 8 or 9 feet away from the mic, so because I'm gonna project my voice, and when I project it, it's going to give it this incredibly hungry sound, and it's going to be strong, and it's like you're going to feel it, and importantly, you're going to feel the pain. Those artists like that, even in today, they don't really exist like that because no one knows how to control themselves like that. Where it's like they know what they need to sound like, how they need to rap, how they need to project their voice, and I think, it's like I said, it's a few that's just incredible, and like Big was one of them.
That's dope.
All his hits, I've seen people, and I've been there, and I've seen some things, and I've seen him do the Rain Man thing, where it's like he walks in the booth and he just listens to the record, and then they like, "Yo, Big, we got to get this first verse done." No, I'm ready. Turn my mic on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
didn't write nothing down. I was writing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
We
There's a few like that. Yeah. Very few.
yeah, we were in the time, and I tell people this now. It was special. So people always say the '90s is the golden era. 2000s was, that was the birth of a whole nother era because when you look at it, for like Cameron, DMX, and all these guys, it was like 2000 artists. These guys came after the dudes from the '90s, like Nas and the rest of these cats, and it's like they brought a whole nother gift to people with in hip hop, So they raised it up, and I thought even with that, that's incredible. It's like what a time to be alive.
Yeah.
You know?
2000s, late 90s, 2000s was crazy
Yeah,
for
looking at
hip
it,
hop. Sales were just insane.
that was the time of the big budgets.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you want a budget? Oh, we're gonna sign you. We're gonna pay you $2 million.
Yeah.
We're
That's how
gonna
they
do
were.
$10 million. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it was a lot of record sales. But I believe like when you took away the spirit of the people who were making records, or even those type of artists, you took away these special albums. Like when you think about it, Outkast got better as they went along. And by the time they had their fourth album, third, fourth, or fifth album, they were diamond.
Yeah.
Usually, an artist goes down. These guys were going up.
Yeah. They
So,
were. They were just getting better and better, growing.
yeah. So it shows you like the artistic value in people and what they really, how they see themselves. So when you look at like Jimi Hendrix and all of these people, James Brown and the rest, who were great before hip hop, that's who these guys kind of became because it's like every album. I believe most people, and it's like I've experienced this working with working even with G-Rap, a lot of people, they want to get better as the albums go along. And like I said, in the '90s and 2000s, it was incredible feats. When I was watching the Rough Riders thing on BT, and it's like it brought back a memory where it's like, DMX sold 4 million 2 times in what was that, 99, 2000, one of those years, his
It
first year,
was 98.
98. How
Yeah.
do you sell 8 million records on 2 albums in the same year?
Yeah. That was crazy.
It's phenomenal, and it's like when you look at it, that's why I say sometimes it's like, yo, what a time to be alive. And the music was good all around. Like there hardly was any bad music, but there was a ton of good music, and it was very good spirits floating around. Because for me, going to talk to people in their sessions, I could feel it. You could feel the energy when you walk in. It was a lot of good people. There was a lot of people who were happy. They just wanted to see other people make it. They were doing features together. Remember, like DMX, Cameron, what's his name, Cannabis, and all these guys, and Nori and them. They all were
Oh
like a
yeah,
group, and
yeah,
that's
that was
what I mean. When you have that, it's like, hey, you know, we're all friends. We're good friends. So if you look at it, they took something and they like, yo, you know what? Even though we're doing music, but it's like being in high school. If we're in high school, even college, and we're going to graduate from this, we're going to graduate together and we're going to have a great life. And you can see the camaraderie with people, you know, as they were doing what they were doing.
yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
so we're gonna dig in a little bit here. Like the first half, we went into music and stuff. So we're gonna dig in, like I guess, on the second half here. So what would you say is your like religious and spiritual background? Because I mean, you're talking a lot about goodness, about you felt like the universe sort of lined up, and as you were doing things, doors open. What is your religious background like growing up and everything?
Well, my mom was very super religious. You know, going to church. Even when people felt like, yo, there's no church today. We all know church is on Sunday. Like it wasn't really for me. Like I used to think, like me and my cousin used to always think, like, yo, well, we go to church every day. They pass this basket around 3 times. Why we got to get them all our money? And we kind of felt that way. But then again, another part of us like, yo, you don't have to go to church to feel like, you know, the spirit, and it's like and be a good person. So we would try to just be good people that way. And it's like when I got into music and I seen, even though it was a lot of smart people, a lot of spiritual people, a lot of people in different walks of life, like, you know, like I said, we spoke, you know, we experienced some things like when we was talking. There were more good people that I experienced in music than there were people who were bad. And I know even because a lot of people who were street people who didn't want to be street people, and this is a different side too. Like they were good, like they were good to the heart. Like even though they done these terrible, terrible things, they still were like, yo, I want to do some goodness. Yo, I'm doing this over here. Oh, you doing music? Like I have these guys signed to me. You know, they have these
Yeah,
machines, but I have an extra one. If you want this machine, you know, here, you know, you can borrow this and you can shape your craft. And you know, there were people like that. So meeting a lot of kind people who made it or who either was trying to make it, it influenced me because it's like, yo, you know what? In this world, you can be a good person. And we've always heard the things like, yo, you get what you put out. You get the same energy that you put in. You get the same energy out. You know,
yeah,
whatever you do with people, that karma is always going to come around. And looking at things, and me seeing the karma that I was getting, I was like, yo, I've seen a lot of good things happen for me. So let me kind of pay this forward. Like I said, for sure to take my beat tape around. And, you know, the songs didn't make Fox album. Flavor Unit had another agenda. But if I would have got paid for that, he would have got me my first check. And he didn't have to do that. I just woke up to a call with me. He was like, yo, you know, I was with Freddie Fox last night. I played him your beat tape, and he picked these four. And I was like, wow. In my mind, I'm like, yo, you didn't have to do that. You know, you could have been in your session like, oh, you know, it's whatever. So for me, when I would go out and do things for people, whether if it's like, yo, you know, well, this one is here, I would bring people to my sessions and like let them play beats where it's like the other people, like even Beat Mine and a few other people, they'd be like, damn, you know, I was trying to play some beats for OC. I've been trying to catch her. Well, we're in Battery tonight. Come by. Give you the platform. My man OG, he always used to be with me. He's on Pun's album too. When he gave up, I was telling him, bring me the beat tape. And I would sit there and play it for Pun in Minnesota. I seen him, he called me like, yo, you know, Pun did OG record last night. Yo, it came out crazy. And I'm like, yeah. And it's like when I call OG and I told you, it's like, yo, that's dope. And it's just a matter of like, yo, sometimes you can look out for people. I know you can't do it for everybody, but the chosen ones that you do, I believe that they'll take it and pay it forward too.
yeah, for sure. I love that, man. So, like, I was thinking when I was, you know, getting ready for the show, I started to think about like hip hop, and I kind of read something in the intro, and I started to think about, you know, because on content, we talk about sacred texts, we talk about, you know, rituals, and then I started to really think about that in the context of hip hop and how we, you know, even you know, digging through the crates, and I saw the post you put today. You said you're trying to get back to the feeling or something like that. You were in the
Trying to
store.
restore the feeling.
So there's this feeling, and then and even taking records and looping them and taking a certain piece, even that, it makes me think of, when people take the Holy Rosary, Catholics, and they repeat a certain prayer over and over on each rosary. When Buddhists meditate and they say a mantra over and over, and then even us within as producers, sometimes we'll take a quote from another rapper and we'll put that and use it as a hook
Yeah.
in another song. So there's so much, and then I started to even think about sort of like the ceremony of it, of you go into, even you think of the early days of hip hop, you go into a, a a jam, and then they start breaking, and then they open up a circle. It makes me think of the early religion, from our ancestors, of the circle, the fire, the dancing, the expressive, like this early type of religion. And I
Almost
feel like
like
all this.
ceremonial.
Hmm?
Almost like ceremonial.
Yeah, like ceremonial. So they open up the circle. If you think about it, you I'm sure you've seen it. They'll even take somebody and swing them around if the club is too crowded
Yeah.
to break it open, and then they'll start breaking. And I thought of all these elements, even the art. When you think of the art that they would put on the subways, and how the way they would do it, it actually reminds me of a lot of native. They call them maps, like in Native American, uh, you know, way back, the way they would put things on the stones.
Yeah.
They call them maps because it's like it's sort of a spiritual map of what that area represents. And I feel like those murals, a lot of times when you look at it, it's like a spiritual map of hip hop, because you have someone like this with a hat to the side. That's kind of like over here. Then you have someone maybe dancing. You have a box for the music, and it's sort of this map of what hip hop is. And I'm saying all that to kind of lead into, you made an album called Hip Hop Is My Religion. And I'd like for you to kind of share what that means to you. Like what made you kind of come up with that title, and what exactly does that mean to you?
Well, we know religion is a way of life. What you believe in spiritually, how you go about it makes you who you are. Like I believe even with it, like with music has made me everything I am today. Because looking at it, like um it gave me everything I am. It's like it taught me how to be positive. It taught me how to be, you know, spiritual. Like I'm not saying I'm this spiritual person like that, but it's so like the gift of music, man. Because even when you're listening to records, there's so many people who've made records. It's hard to really find any one record or anything that can define one person. But the gift of
Mhm.
music, the what you can take from the lyrics and what you can take, and it's like, and you can embed inside of your mind, and you let that seep into your soul. Sometimes people don't understand it because even in hip hop, we have like I say, when you sample, you can sample anything. So even sampling gospel, I remember Joe had this record where the LES did for him, and he sampled a gospel record, and it's like when you listen to the original tune, like it's just phenomenal. Just listening to the words, it's like, Lord, please have mercy on me. And it's like listening to it, like musically, it moves you, it moves me. And even hearing the words, it moves me also. So when I listen, it's like, yo, the gift of music, and I said this, it's like it's the greatest gift that you can never give someone. Because like I say, we get taught things in school, but even like I say, through, growing up in the South Bronx and hearing rappers, the birth of hip hop, and all of this, and becoming embedded in it. Like I've learned so much about different cultures, so much different people. When you hearing things, it's like, okay, these guys are rapping and they're from Australia, well, they doing it in English, but even Africa, Asia, wherever it's from, you can feel what they're saying, but
Mm-hmm.
the music is the one thing that nestles it into making it acceptable for everybody. So
Yeah.
I think that, man, that's why I say it. It's it gives you the feel. So even like and I've done records for people like, in Japan and Europe, different countries over there, and listening is like you can feel I can feel the energy. And it's like when people hear it, they say the same thing, yo. I can feel the energy in the record from what's he rapping about. And they'll have a translator and tell him what he's rapping about. It's like, wow, man, that sounds really powerful right now. You
Yeah,
know?
it's amazing. I mean, I obviously love music, you know, and it is incredible to me that you music. I've come to see it as sort of a language, and it's a language that doesn't use words, and
Universal language, that's what they would call it.
yeah, it's universal, and it just cuts across everything, and it sort of speaks without speaking, and it hits you right here, like in your soul, in your heart, and it is special, and I think that I guess that it makes sense why a lot of people just get kind of sucked into music because it's so hard to resist, and then making it, like for me too, because I'm writing sort of a story about myself, and just like for therapy or whatever. And I realized that the first religion for me really was hip hop, and that's why it intrigued me so much when I saw that your album title was that, because it really was. I was a kid it was magical when I saw, like my brother come over, and he started breaking with his friends, and they put baby powder down on the floor in the living room, and they put the music on, and then my sisters would talk about the club, and or so and so battled somebody, and it was just like the energy was just tremendous.
I
And
think we all came from that where it's like you look at it and it's like, and you find something that you want to do, you want to experience.
yeah,
And
exactly.
having that experience, man, is the greatest feeling. Like really, like I say, for me, my early on is like, even hearing Run DMC, like I say, that I love the first album, but to me, the first thing that really made me really love hip hop definitely was Follow the Leader album, you know, and Rakim first album. First of all, even with Ross, like he has this way of speaking to us where it's like he raps like he almost raps in a way like, and how can I put this? It's not commanding, but he's
Mhm.
like, yo, I need you to listen to what I'm saying. And when you
Yeah,
listen, you're going to get this jewel from me, you
he's
know?
tricky because he rhymes like this, like, but it's just like so confident. It's the content is insane. The word, everything is just it's just so much, and he just says it in such a confident. It's hard to grasp. It's just like and I think that that's probably why he's number one on my list, and he's probably number one on a lot of people's lists.
Oh,
Um,
for sure. And the Harem Buster album still sounding great is amazing,
yeah,
you
that
know?
was incredible too.
Like for me, like he was always number one with the artist, and the Bomb Squad was always number one with production. And
Yeah,
no one really gives them their due. But here the music they made, even with Chuck D, was just so powerful. And to have it where it's like, even like Harris Wind, where it's like you're teaching people about something, social consciousness, and it's like, and people can dance to it at the same time, and it's
yeah.
like, and you can have hit records. It shows you the power of the people in the voice. You
You know,
know,
the Bomb Squad is really something because they don't get the credit, and I've actually had the privilege to have conversation with Hank Shockley, and it's crazy. And I was because I noticed all these things in the production. People just don't realize how difficult it is to layer the amount of loops that they would at that time with the way the technology was. So I was asking him, I was like, how the hell did you do that? He was telling me some of the tricks. They would do stuff with the reel, but everything worked. I mean, if you really analyze some of the production, there's like 3, 4 drum loops, a
like 4 or 5 loops. It's
bunch
some
of loops on top of each other. Like,
yeah.
how do you even like, and you DJ too, like I have. you know, sometimes you're doing like a 4-track and you're trying to, you know, you put it this beat, you put that on top, and you're like, and at a certain point, it's like, wait, this is getting too crazy. This doesn't sound good anymore. But they would just, it's just crazy to me, and it didn't sound, it sounded powerful, it sounded strong, because a lot of times when you layer loops, it thins everything out. One loop will kind of like do something like oscillate with the other, and it just kind of like, now you can't get that strong mix anymore. There's so many pieces that people don't understand to what they did, and I still to this day don't know how they did it, and their production is a marvel to me. So I agree with you, like
Yeah.
their production is crazy.
But still, like all of these great things that we had before us, and I can understand even from us from our time is what inspires other people to do what they want to do. Because looking at it, and I'm like, yo, you know, when I first met Hank, I was marveled. Like I seen Elvis.
See, so I had the same feeling. All right, good. I don't feel
So
crazy. I felt the
looking
same
at
way.
it, he's like, yeah, man, you make some dope beats. I'm like, I make dope beats. And I told him, I said, do you know who you are? He was like, yeah, I know who I am. I was like, yo, y'all make us want to do what we do. And
Yeah.
look at it, like when they say Birth of a Nation, like they need to make an album called Birth of a Nation, you know, Ode to PE. Because looking at it, it's like, yo, if people want to admit it or not, Chuck and Hank and them, they gave us teachings also. Because when you look
Yeah.
at what Chuck is reciting in his raps, like I
Mhm.
say, for him to rap about things, it's like social things is going on, and
Yeah.
it makes it cool. Cause you're like, oh wow, you know, like even Fight the Power.
Mhm.
And I remember my youngest son, I used to play it, and it's like he would be singing it. And I'm like, dude, this is way ahead of your time. Way before your time. But it's like that's how powerful the music is. And it's like, will there ever be another group of people or someone who can have that much power? I don't know, but looking at it for them, like I just deem it as necessary. I think of a lot of us in the right place at the right time. And
Yeah.
for the universe has put us there to make this global powerhouse of music to be a part of it. So if you had a glass bowl and you had all the things that made hip hop and we all are in there, and you could point out everyone who made it great so the world can enjoy it, it would be such an achievement because it's like everyone has their role that they're playing. And it's like I look at it too when like even like when I said I was watching BT and I seen the Cash Money Rough Riders thing, I didn't even know the tour was that hectic. But I look and it's like I say for DMX, and it's like I always felt he was a gift to the people because when he came out,
Yeah.
he wasn't flashy or nothing. He just talked about his pain, and he would get on stage and he would ask God why did he choose him, you know? But you got to choose somebody. It's like
Yeah.
I think for him his soul was pure enough where it's like he has, you know, he's giving himself to the people. And that's what it is. And honestly, it's like he gave himself to them. And it's like, and they
His
can
honesty
them and him.
was revolutionary, really. At that moment, you'd never ever seen someone who was also a a thug, who was from the street, and who actually was like completely honest about his struggle, his pain, to the point where like on one of the songs I did with him, they had to bleep out a certain word, not because it was a curse, but because it was him admitting that, you know, he had this addiction, and they didn't want that said, like, you know, to everybody,
Yeah.
because at the time I don't know if it was like common knowledge, and you know, he was just real, you know, and I think people identified with that to this day. I mean, you know, he resonates with people who weren't alive for that generation. He still resonates. Some of his music, it still speaks to people, you know, and
True
that's,
artist, you
yeah,
know.
that is a true artist,
And looking at it, like I say, man, if he had it, and that it he had is like they always say it's a God given talent, but it's a talent that's given to you because you have a higher calling. And his calling is, and it's like I can probably promise you, I don't know this, but I guarantee you, like his music has touched a lot of people's lives,
for sure.
you know, one way or another. So looking at it, I'm pretty sure that he's got that. And, you know, for him to get on stage and be like, God, why did you choose me? That humbleness to be like, you gave me this gift where it's like I can can touch 4 million people at a time with the records 4 to 5.
And he touched a lot of people. I mean, I could tell you just a brief story. Just me going to the mall with him once. Only time I ever hung out with him because he drives crazy. Like I would never go driving with him again. Like after that day, he literally like he drives like a maniac. At least that day. So I was like, all right, I'm not doing this again. But anyway, we went to the mall and we're just like walking around, and people like at that time would just come up to him and like the song one of the songs I did with him, Slipping,
Yeah.
and they would literally come up to him about that song, and they would just like give him a hug, almost in tears, like you don't know what that did. And then when I was with him that day, he would go, "He's the guy who produced it," and then they would come and hug me, and it was like, "Oh shit,
But
it's amazing!"
how powerful that record is. That was
It
on
was
the second
amazing.
album, right?
That's on the second, the second.
Yeah.
Yep,
That record there, and I ain't gonna lie, when I heard it, yo, that song is a testament. And listen to what he said. Like I know the music speaks to him, and it's like you can tell us, I'm slipping, I'm falling, I can't get up. I'm still right there, right. And what he's saying is like it's a lot of people who feel like that, and that feeling is an overwhelming feeling. And it's like for him, like I say, the music for some people that we make is therapy, and we don't know that when we're making it who it's going to touch. And and to hear that, the first time I heard that, I was like, yo. When I cracked the album open, I heard it. I said, this needs to be the single. Switch It was the first single, but then it's like in time, it was a single. And I was like, yo, this song is crazy powerful. I don't know who picked it as a single, but it was a genius move because it definitely talked to people and it showed people another side of X.
Yeah. It surprised me too because that was the first time I went and worked with the with everybody after being signed. I had been around a lot, but I had never actually was able to actually work with him.
Mm-hmm.
And that surprised me because I had all these wild beats on there, because he's X.
Yeah.
So I had like these really like dramatic, wild joints, and then he picked that one, and like you said about all great artists, everything was one take. It was amazing.
I feel like it spoke to him.
Yeah, he looked at me and he just looked at me. He said, "Lay that," and I was like, with that, for a producer, that's like, all right, mission accomplished. He said, "Lay it." I laid it immediately, and next thing you know, he just went through it, and it was amazing because you felt it. Like as he did it, he went through it, one take, doubles, adds, chorus. The only thing we had to do separately was just get someone saying, some backgrounds in the chorus.
Yeah.
But that song was done in like, in I don't know, in an hour maybe. But his part was done as long as it took to do it. He didn't repeat. He didn't do anything twice. It was like a special moment.
Yo, I think everyone has those, and it's like he's like, like the Jim Morrison of our time. Like, look at it, like those who got to work with him, it's like you have to appreciate it because it was a special time. Like people be like, yo, you work with Jay-Z, yeah, that's cool, but when you get the person who's the people's person, I believe that X, like I say, some artists are just gifts for the people. Like the universe puts them there for that purpose. There's a lot of people who need your help. Like I know you had it bad, but when you tell your story, it's going to help heal other people. Like I've seen tapes and everything. People see DMX and they break down and they start crying, bawling, hugging them, and I'm like, wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, it blew me away the first time I witnessed that, and this was like at his peak. I didn't. I mean, I know. I mean, he's selling records and everything. But when you at that time when I just walked through the mall with him,
yeah,
it was like unbelievable. Like it wasn't like normal, like how people would, normally like if someone sees like an artist or something, like can I take like, hey, wow, that's so and so. Oh, yo, I love your stuff. Blah blah blah. It wasn't that conversation. I've seen that a million times. It was like you said. It was like, oh my God, you don't know what your music's done. Like it was like a spiritual thing. Like they connected with him in a deeper way than just like admiring his ability or how good he was or how great the song was. It was beyond that. It was like he connected with people like in a way
on a
that
high
was
level
yeah, it
spiritually.
was spiritually.
Like
That's
he's a
the only
spiritual
way.
dude, and for him to connect with people, he don't see it because when they on the tour, it's like and they talk about it, and he's like, "Yo, God, why you give me this gift?"
Yeah.
You know, like, "Yo, you have this gift because I just think like you've been through your own things and had your own demons, and other people have theirs, and sometimes you need someone that you can relate to help you open your eyes and see what you have or who you are to get you on a different track." Like Harlem Music Hut, Manhattan, I see
Wow.
this lady, she did it to DMX right there. Like she was like, "Oh, yo," she broke down and she cried, you
Is,
know. And it's
is
like,
that place still there?
nah, it's something else now, but that
Wow.
still has a lot of
That
history.
place. Oh my God, that place.
Yeah,
Yeah, I used to go there to put my mixtapes in the store. That
there
was the
you
spot.
go. We all had our mixtapes in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. That was the spot. That was the spot, man.
But that journey, the mixtape era and everything, and to us making beats and producing, it was like that music journey is probably one of the greatest journeys that someone in our generation can experience. Because to go from one to another, and it's like you're just climbing up this ladder, and it's like you're going to different chambers, like the Wu say. And all of
Hmm.
a sudden, you're in the chamber where you need to be. You got hit records, and it's like you have music that's touching people, that moves them. That shows like on your journey, even DJ, you had a purpose and a higher calling, but you just didn't know what it was yet. And I think a lot of us who's experienced that to look and it's like I don't think it's like nowadays I don't think like having these big records are a fluke. I think it was meant to be. You know, like one record I produced, Faith record, I Love You. I seen all type of people be like, "Yo, that was our song in our wedding." I've
Wow.
heard that song when I first took my wife out on the date. That was our song. And it's like they would say all these wonderful things. It's like being older now, I can think about it. Like, yo, the universe designed this journey for a reason. Like good or bad. Like we go through good things, we go through bad things, but the
Yeah,
one
even the bad end up being like the thing I'm writing it, putting down my story kind of, and it's called the gift wrapped up in a nightmare.
oh, that sounds like a movie.
So that's the idea. It's what you're saying. Like it's even if you go through these difficulties, even if you go, it's a gift. It's just wrapped up in these difficulties, and you find it, and just jumping off of what you're saying.
Yeah, but you're so right because I look at it and sometimes like being a producer, like you see everybody having super hit records and you're waiting on your turn, and then it's like your turn always gets passed up, and then it's like when you do get it, you're like, wow. But these records that they become that gift, you start meeting people and they tell you the stories that they tell the artists. Like even for someone to be in love like that, it's like you make a record and it touch so many people in a certain way that's like, is marriage, family, etc. I think, those are gifts. Like, and we were put here to bring these gifts to people, even slipping. Like I say, that hearing when I heard the song, I was like, yo, it's such a powerful song, you know? So I was like, yo, and I'm not gonna lie, it's like when I listened to the album, I was like, yo, this is like the best song on the album. Cause the way it
Thanks,
comes
man.
in and the way the music feels, and then what he's saying and how he like you can hear it. And I was
Yeah,
like, that's
yeah,
crazy.
man. Thank you. That was I made that during a difficult time. Tell you the truth, it was 4 years old when I played it for him.
Yeah.
I made it, yeah, like I made it at a rough, moment when I was trying to figure out what I was gonna do with my life, and I was at that, those early 20s,
Mm-hmm.
and when I actually know I was probably like, yeah, maybe 19, 20, something like that, and I was trying to figure things out, and I was feeling like real down, and I was actually digging through that album with Grover Washington
Yeah.
because I loved How Many MCs.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna steal those drums and try to use them my own way. So I was pulling them right off of him, and
You
then I
do what you're
found
supposed to do.
Moonlighting, and Moonlight, and Grover Washington's the other track that I sampled for Slippin'. So I actually used the drums from Hydra on Slippin', and then I sampled moon streams, and the feeling was just crazy to me. It was therapeutic, and I never expected that to happen. And like you know, with that song, that record with Faith, it's like those records end up being more even, whether sales or whatever, or those records end up being like special, like more special than anything, because what's cooler than that? Like, someone telling you that's the song they played at their wedding. What's more amazing than that, really? I mean, that's huge. That's one of the biggest days of their life, and then they put your record on.
And they shared it, and they like even tell me that they shared that with me. So I look, man, like sometimes, like even though other people might have some things that may seem like, oh, I had 20 Billboard records as #1, but when you can have a moment in someone's life that you don't know, and they share that experience with you, I think that's incredible, also.
Yeah, and that's very encouraging too, to like anybody who's watching, like whatever it is you do, whether it's music or not or anything, if you do it long enough, the odds are, and you're following your path, that you're gonna do something that is gonna make a real impact on somebody. And listen, man, we've had a great talk. We're at about an hour now. I don't want to keep you too long,
man,
but
it's a blessing, Shok, and it's always good catching up with people. I haven't spoken to you in a minute, but I look at it, and it's always big respect, and it's always love. But I think those are the things that make the journey and the camaraderie with people exciting, and it's worth it. And it's like, I always look at it, when we spoke about Buster the same way. Buster will call me and be like, yo, where you been? You need to be out. It's all these people you need to work for, and it's like they're not seeing you. You need to come out. When I go out, I'm calling you.
There you go. I used to see you just man, everywhere. Like we were saying before we started, like I would bump into you so much, or I had just been somewhere, and then they were like, yeah, Buck was just here, and I mean that was the grind, man.
It's a beautiful thing, man. It's like, to look at it, the gift of music is one of the most beautiful things that we could have, and the other thing to me, I think, is fatherhood. So these things that we are blessed with, the camaraderie, like music has helped me meet so many incredible people. And like I said, I look, man, it's like, yo, it's all love. It's all one big blessing for me, and I keep it to heart.
And someone says, Buckwild, we need new material, but I just want you guys to know he's got plenty of new material. I think
and more to come.
Yeah, you just dropped a pretty, like, what was that? How long ago you just dropped something? That was very recent. After Hip Hop Is My Religion. You got something else.
Oh, Rashid Chappelle.
Yeah, so you got that, and Hip Hop Is Religion is not old.
Music Is My Religion. Before that, what's the name of this album? Like, I've been working so much. I have an album with Flea Lord, from last year, but even this year is a whole lot more to come. So even if you have the Instagram there, Buckwild_DITC, follow me. There'll be a lot of things to come, and it's like, right now, this is why I do it too. I do it for people, so the people who are still like fans and enjoy music. If I could do it, like, it's my gift to you guys. It's not on a major. We're in a pandemic. We can't walk to our favorite store, buy music. We can't go outside, listen to music. But, that's my gift. If it can help you get through it, it's like, I've seen people tell me that too. Yeah, you put out like 3-4 albums. This is early in the pandemic. They'd be like, yo, these help me get through it. And I was like, yo, that's the greatest compliment you can tell someone. And if it's helping people, I'm going to continue to do it.
Yeah. Amen. Well, thank you for coming up, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. We'll you too. All right.
Don't hang up yet, though. I'm gonna end it and then just kick it real quick.
All right.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate y'all.
All right.